When COVID first hit and we had the first stay-at-home order back in March of 2020, our calls immediately increased by about 70%. Part of it was adults who were really stressed out about their personal situations, whether it was employment or housing, food insecurity, just really worried and unsure and struggling with the unpredictability of the situation. And then we started getting calls from parents because parents were spending this increased time at home with their kids, and what that was giving them the opportunity to do was really observe that their kid might need some help. And so some of the issues that those parents were identifying were not necessarily new, but new to them, and the first time they were able to see it in real time. And then some individuals who had already been struggling before the pandemic, their issues or struggles were just kind of exacerbated by the struggles that came with the pandemic. You know, not knowing if they would have employment, not knowing what was going to happen with their housing because maybe they were renting and they weren't going to be able to afford rent. And so we've seen a consistent increase in our need for services, and once we hit that, we haven't really decreased since then. And so now we're almost a year later, and what we've done in response to the pandemic is increase our virtual resources, of course. So for a period of time, almost all of our programs were being done virtually. And then we actually had to back off of that a little bit because we realized people who are calling Pikes Peak suicide prevention, just the nature of our name because it says suicide in our name, these might be individuals that could really benefit from some face-to-face services. And so as we were allowed and able within the restrictions of our community, began reopening and making in-person services available again, because there was just this need for people to connect in person. And so we've worked hard as soon as we were able to have some in-person services, making sure that we maintain the availability of that resource in addition to virtual resources. So for example, our therapy sessions are available either virtual or in person because those are usually one-to-one appointments. For our peer support program, they can come to the center here in these one-to-one meetings and meet in person. We decrease the number of participants allowed in our groups, but to allow them for our youth groups to be in person, and then created a wait list kind of rotating participants through so that they could have real life, in your face social interactions, which is something that was really impacted by the pandemic. In addition to that, we've seen just an increase in stress for our adults for a number of reasons, all of the economic reasons, and we think that there will be some ripple effects that will be long-lasting from the pandemic. There are individuals who have lived with mental health challenges who have really struggled during this time, and it's going to take them some time to get back to baseline. There are individuals who will struggle transitioning back when the world kind of restarts again. They'll need support for that because there are some people who are like, whew, I don't want to leave my house. This is helpful for me. And so to go back to the rigorous pressures of, you know, the regular schedules and all of those things that have kind of relaxed will be hard for some. And so there's just a need for us to have our ear to the ground, really, to our community, to have a good understanding of what are all of the challenges that they're facing, and then constantly striving to support them through those challenges. But COVID is something that we didn't see coming, and now we'll never forget. And there will be parts of our program that will be forever changed because of COVID. And some of that I think is good. I think increasing virtual services increases accessibility, and so I like that piece of it. But virtual services, I think of them sometimes like astronaut food. You know, they meet the need, but they just aren't as satisfying or necessarily as nutritious as the real thing. And so we just want to make sure that we continue to figure out how to balance all of that.